Hi, my name's Eric. I'll be reading you selections from today's Cape Cod Times. Today's date is Monday, April 13th, 2 days before Tax Day, the 15th of 2026. We'll start with the weather, as we always do, and across the Cape and Islands today you can expect mostly cloudy skies with a shower or two, breezy, and a high of about 56 degrees. The low tonight will be about 53 degrees with an evening shower expected, otherwise clearing for a warmer day tomorrow with a high of 71, a low of 48 in the overnight. Times of clouds and sun tomorrow, Tuesday. On Wednesday, warm with considerable cloudiness, high of 72, that's the highest of the week, a low of 50 in the overnight. On Thursday, clouds followed by a brightening sky. So the morning will be cloudy. It should be a nice bright afternoon, a high of 66, a low of 51. Beautiful spring weather. On Friday, partial sunshine, high of 65, a low of 48. So we are hopefully crossing our fingers as spring peeks its head into our lives. The sun will rise at 6:05 a.m. today. It'll set at 7:19 p.m. We'll have 13 hours and 15 minutes of daylight, and the moon will rise at 4:09 a.m. and set at 3:09 p.m. Heading to the front of the paper where they used to keep the lottery results, and we read these because, well, somebody asked for them. If there's something you would like read to people who are blind or print disabled, you can email us at info@audiblelocalledger.org or call us at 508-539-2030, and we'll consider reading it. And if you miss any of the information that we share in our readings, you can always go to audiblelocalledger.org, click on the Listen tab, and under All Reads to the Blind, we keep 150 chronologically arranged readings, which means the most recent are the first ones you'll come across. It's a fully disability compliant website, so if you click on that, you can catch up on anything that you might have missed. All of that is free for people who are blind or print disabled at audiblelocalledger.org. For the latest results, we go to masslottery.com because the Cape Cod Times goes to press too early. And with the numbers game results for yesterday, Sunday, April 12th, the midday drawing numbers were 5330. Again, yesterday's midday drawing numbers for Sunday were 5330. The evening drawing last night on Sunday, April 12th, results were 9491. Again, last night's evening drawing results of the numbers game, 9491. Good luck to all who play, and remember us if you win. From the front page of today's Cape Cod Times, the headline reads, Murder Trial of Defendant Chari Rainey Begins in Barnstable Court, by Zane Razak in Barnstable. Prosecutors allege in a jury trial that began Thursday that a Boston man joined in a revenge-fueled hunt for a 41-year-old East Falmouth man and helped stab him to death outside a Falmouth home in 2022. This stabbing was all about a drug debt, said Cape and Islands Assistant DA Kevin Burke during opening statements in Barnstable Superior Court. Chari Rainey, that's Chereerainey, who's 43 years old, has pleaded not guilty to charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and breaking and entering. Rainey's first trial ended last summer in a mistrial after the jury failed to reach a verdict. Rainey's defense attorneys say the state's cooperating witness, Kimberly McCarthy, is falsely blaming him to secure a lighter sentence for herself. All she has to do to avoid going to jail for the rest of her life is come in here and say, Chari Rainey did it, said attorney Paul Leonardo Roy during opening statements. Prosecutors allege that Rainey and Tishon Miller, 44 years old, killed Douglas Rose around 6:30 p.m. on September 22, 2022, at 250 Davisville Road in East Falmouth in retaliation over stolen drugs. They say that the pair found Rose at the house and stabbed him repeatedly after Rose stole drugs belonging to Rainey the day before. Miller was convicted in November of first-degree murder and is serving a life sentence without chance of parole. Jurors will hear evidence including text messages about the drugs, DNA evidence from a knife recovered near the scene, and medical testimony regarding Rose's wounds, said Burke. He also said McCarthy, Rose's girlfriend who allegedly drove the men to and from the scene, is expected to testify. She was also initially charged with murder and has since entered a cooperation agreement with prosecutors for a reduced sentence. Who orchestrated the killing? Leonardo Roy said McCarthy, not Rainey, orchestrated the killing, and that she falsely implicated Rainey in exchange for a favorable plea deal. He asserted that the stolen drugs belonged to McCarthy and told jurors she threatened Rose over text after discovering the alleged theft. Listen to her story because it is so self-serving, and it minimizes her own role in this killing so much as to make it illogical and incomprehensible. In short, you're going to hear that Kim McCarthy is not to be believed, said Leonardo Roy. And if she cannot be believed, then the Commonwealth cannot meet the burden of proving their case against Mr. Rainey beyond a reasonable doubt. Miller is the one who actually stabbed Rose, stated Leonardo Roy. He said DNA recovered from a knife found near the scene matched Rose and Miller, but not Rainey. The trial before Judge Elaine Buckley was expected to continue into the week beginning April 13th. Also, on the front page of today's Cape Cod Times, the headline reads, "Trustee says former college president was investigated," by Rachel Devaney. After months of speculation, on Friday, Cape Cod Community College lifted the veil off circumstances that led to former President John Cox's 5-month leave of absence and his eventual retirement in March. In October of 2025, the school received credible and serious reports and a subsequent formal complaint of inappropriate and unprofessional conduct by Cox that potentially violated the college's policy on affirmative action, equal opportunity, and diversity, according to a statement released April 10th by the Cape Cod Community College Board of Trustees. Upon learning of this complaint, the board voted to place Cox on paid administrative leave and partnered with experienced external investigators to conduct an impartial and thorough investigation, said board chair Tammy Glavinsky-Sabin. Cox announced his retirement effective immediately to Glavinsky-Sabin on Monday, March 16th, she said in the statement. During the complaint process, which has concluded, it was determined that Cox didn't violate the policy on affirmative action, equal opportunity, and diversity, but he did engage in inappropriate and unprofessional conduct toward the complainant, which was inconsistent with his presidential role, according to the statement. As we need to protect the privacy of the complainant and those involved in this confidential complaint process, and to honor and recognize the college's need to move forward, this is the extent of what will be shared regarding the investigation, said Glavinsky-Sabin in the statement. The complaint process, said Glavinsky-Sabin in the statement, has been immensely challenging and frustrating. A year that has been cause for so much celebration, from surges in enrollment to technology advancements in the classroom to the countless student success stories now on full display during commencement season, should not be marred by administrative disruption, she said. Glavinsky-Sabin hopes that students, staff, and administration can refocus on the school's commencement ceremony, which will be held on May 21st, and can look forward to the college's presidential search. That process will begin in the coming months with the appointment of an interim president and then the national search for a full-time president, she said. In a closed-door meeting on October 23rd of 2025, the College Board placed Cox on paid administrative leave. At the time, circumstances behind the move were unclear. The school president of finance and operations, Chris Clark, has served as the administrator in charge since Cox was placed on leave. Cox earned roughly $225,458 annually, according to a statewide payroll database. During the board meeting on October 23rd, Glavinsky-Sabin said the group entered into executive session based on Massachusetts General Laws Chapter 30A 21A1. Under that provision, the board can, quote, discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health, rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. Cox became president of the college in July of 2012, according to the school's website, and has focused much of his work on the expansion of technical education programs, including the Federal Aviation Administration-approved Accelerated Aviation Maintenance Technician Program. In 2016, Cox faced a petition signed by more than 60% of the college's full-time tenured faculty and staff supporting a vote of no confidence. Final story on the front page of today's Cape Cod Times, dated April 13th. 90-year-old Osterville woman cannot drive for 7 years after the crash, by Zane Razak in Barnstable. Mary C. Grady, the 90-year-old Osterville woman, police say drove into a woman at the Barnstable transfer station in 2025, has been placed on pretrial probation. This means the charge of negligent driving against her will be dismissed if she complies with certain conditions, namely that she doesn't drive for 7 years. Again, she's 90 years old. The pretrial probation period expires March 11th of 2033. Pretrial probation allows defendants to resolve cases without going to trial or pleading guilty. Attorneys for Grady could not be reached for comment. On January 29th of 2025, West Barnstable resident Dawn Capra was removing trash from the trunk of her car at the Barnstable transfer station when the car behind her rolled forward, hitting Capra and crushing her between the two vehicles. Grady was the driver of that car, according to police. Grady's foot slipped, quote-unquote, off the brake and onto the gas, according to police records. Capra was airlifted to Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston with 2 broken femurs, and as a result of the crash, her right leg was amputated just above the knee. Capra told the Times that she was pleased with the resolution of the case, saying she believes this will protect other residents. My basic thing with her is she's 90 years old. She's not going to jail, no way, said Capra. My big thing was that she never drive again. I just never wanted the woman to drive again. That was my bottom line. She praised the judge, her own attorney, Peter Lloyd, and the district attorney's office. When the judge asked if she wanted to speak during the most recent court date, Capra said, "I didn't. I just cried." Losing her leg has reshaped everything in her life, said Capra. After 13 years, she said she could no longer continue as a foster parent, calling that loss painful. Her house has now been renovated to be more accessible, and simple errands like grocery store trips have transformed into logistical challenges. You have to think about everything. You can't just get up and do it, said Capra. She pointed to a recent trip to Florida with her cheer academy as an example, her first time traveling since the crash. She had to book a special ADA hotel room, recounting bringing chairs into the bathroom just to shower, adding, "If you're not laughing, you go mental." I'm not a Debbie Downer. I'm a very positive person, and that's the way I choose to live my life. I just thank God I'm still on this earth. I have a lot to live for, said Capra. Grady was arraigned on September 19th of 2025. The criminal complaint was issued July 23rd of 2025, approximately 6 months after the incident. Moving inside the paper, The Blind Boys of Alabama Bring Gospel to Provincetown by Beth McDermott of the Provincetown Banner. The Blind Boys of Alabama, who are legends in gospel music, are set to perform at 7 p.m. April 18th at Provincetown Town Hall, 260 Commercial Street. This concert, presented by the Payamit Performing Arts Center, will benefit Provincetown's community radio station, WOMR, according to a community announcement. Tickets range from $29 to $68, and they're available at tickets.payamet.org. More information can be found at payamet.org or by calling 508-487-5400. Again, you can call 508-487-5400 for more information on tickets to Blind Boys of Alabama. The Blind Boys of Alabama have been recognized by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Recording Academy Grammys with Lifetime Achievement Awards. They also have been inducted into the Gospel Music Hall of Fame, and they've won 6 Grammy Awards. The group is known for its interpretation of both traditional gospel favorites and contemporary spiritual material by songwriters such as Eric Clapton, Prince, and Tom Waits. They've collaborated with artists including Lou Reed, Peter Gabriel, Bonnie Raitt, Willie Nelson, Aaron Neville, Susan Tedeschi, Ben Harper, Patty Griffin, and Taj Mahal, Patty Griffin being a favorite of mine. The Payomet Performing Arts Center is a nonprofit organization based in Truro. It presents professional music, theater, and film screenings throughout the year at various Cape Cod venues. The center is celebrating its 25th anniversary. According to the announcement, it celebrates in partnership with the Cape Cod National Seashore and is located at the Highlands Center. Editorial note: this story was created with the assistance of artificial intelligence, AI. Journalists were involved in every step of the information gathering, a review, editing, and the publishing process. Falmouth bicyclist flown to Off-Cape Hospital after Route 151 crash by Rachel Devaney. An 86-year-old cyclist was flown to an Off-Cape hospital with critical injuries after colliding with a box truck along Route 151 in Falmouth on Thursday. At roughly 3:50 p.m., the Falmouth Police Department and Falmouth Fire Rescue Department responded to Route 151 just east of the intersection with Sandwich Road for a reported motor vehicle and bicycle crash, according to a press release posted to the police's Facebook page on Friday, April 10th. Upon arrival, first responders located a cyclist suffering from critical injuries. The North Falmouth man was taken to Falmouth Hospital, subsequently airlifted to an off-Cape trauma center for further treatment, according to the Post. How did the crash happen? A preliminary investigation indicates that the box truck and cyclist were traveling eastbound on Route 151 when a crash occurred, according to police. The operator of the box truck remained on scene, cooperating with the investigation, according to the social media post. Officers also interviewed multiple witnesses who saw the collision. The Cape Cod Regional Law Enforcement Council Accident Reconstruction Team responded and is assisting with the investigation. The Barnstable County Sheriff's Office Bureau of Criminal Investigations and the Mashpee Police Department also responded to assist. This incident remains under investigation. No fault has been determined as of Friday, April 10th. From the Cape and Islands section, Senate advances environmental bill to ban plastic bags by Margie Cullen. The Massachusetts legislature advanced a sweeping environmental bond bill on April 8th that includes a provision to ban single-use plastic bags and charge a fee for paper bags at stores across the state. The legislation responds to an increasingly littered natural world by removing single-use plastic bags from retail checkout counters, the Massachusetts Senate said in a statement. A plastic bag tossed to the side of a road can pose immediate risks, such as the suffocation or starvation of wildlife, while also fragmenting over time into microplastics that pollute. According to the press release, Massachusetts residents use more than 2 billion plastic bags every year. The legislature said that the bill provides reasonable limits on wasteful single-use plastic products. It mandates that a store cannot provide a customer with a bag unless it's a recycled paper bag or a reusable bag. But it adds that customers must be charged at least 10 cents per recycled paper bag. 5 cents would go to the retailer, 5 cents would go to Plastics Environmental Protection Fund. Small stores with only one location and under 10 employees would not be required to charge for paper bags. Customers could still bring their own reusable plastic bags from home. There are 163 cities and towns in the state, including Boston, Falmouth, Quincy, and Worcester, that already restrict the use of single-use plastic bags, according to the Sierra Club. What is the Environmental Bond Bill? The plastic bag legislation is part of a $3.64 billion bond bill called the Mass Ready Act that spans a range of environmental topics, from infrastructure for climate change and severe weather to protections for drinking water. It's based on legislation originally filed by Governor Maura T. Healey in 2025. In addition to the plastic bag bill, the bill would allow the state to borrow up to $200 million for coastal infrastructure projects to respond to environmental hazards like rising sea levels and storm surges. Other provisions include $450 million to protect clean drinking water, $120 million to address PFAS forever chemicals in drinking water, and policies to preserve the public's access to state-owned beaches even amid rising tides that could alter entire beaches. The Committee on Ways and Means voted to advance the legislation April 8th, and the Senate scheduled to debate the bill April 15th. It has not been passed, it has merely been submitted for debate. The other story in the Cape and Islands section of today's Cape Cod Times, tons of boat wrap recycled yearly on Cape Cod by Susan Vaughn. Have you ever wondered what happens to all that thick white plastic covering on boats stored on dry land during the winter months on Cape Cod? Fortunately, all that plastic is not going into garbage trucks or landfills. A yearly program at 5 Cape Cod town transfer stations collects the covers and brings them to a recycling center in Brockton where they are sold to processors and eventually may turn into coffee can lids, all-weather decking, or garbage bags. Barnstable County is partnered with Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution's Sea Grant and towns across the Cape since 2019, with a 2020 break during the COVID-19 pandemic, for Cape Cod residents and businesses, such as boatyards and marinas. Last year alone, more than 60.5 tons of shrink wrap were recycled across the Cape, over the more than 47 tons in 2024, according to Carrie Purcell, Municipal Assistance Coordinator with Barnstable County's Cape Cod Cooperative Extension. The annual collection kicked off April 1st, and it continued through July 31st in the participating towns of Wellfleet, Eastham, Chatham, Bourne, and Falmouth. The centers, called depots for the program, offer the service free to town residents. Some also offer it to neighboring town residents. Parcell said in an April 7th phone interview, most commercial haulers and marine businesses pay a recycling fee to the towns to deposit the covers. This program gives residents an easy way to recycle that material instead of throwing it away, Parcell said. It's a simple step that makes a big difference for our environment and our coastal communities. How it works. The towns use their own trucks and pay the tipping fees when they bring the material after July to Republic Services, a materials recovery facility in Brockton, Parcell explained. Republic bales the material and sells it to market for processing. The processors turn the wrap into pellets, and then those become post-consumer resin and made into new materials, she explained. The program is also making it easier for boatyards and marinas to manage shrink wrap year-round, according to Stephanie Murphy, Senior Communications Specialist for the Sea Grant. The grant provides the print and advertising materials for the program. Cavosa Disposal of East Falmouth helped increase the amount of shrink wrap collected when it joined the program in 2025 by picking up the material from boatyards, Parcell said, accounting for 20 tons of weight. This year, we're encouraging boatyards to work with their waste haulers to recycle boat wrap directly, Murphy said in an email. The haulers can set up an account with Republic Services, and the boatyards only need a dedicated container for collecting the wrap. After that, they can recycle shrink wrap at any time of year on their own schedule. Haulers can learn more at the Sea Grant website at seagrant.hui.edu/ shrink wrap recycling boatyards haulers. AmeriCorps workers also are notifying boatyards of the program. What you should know about recycling boat shrink wrap. Since boat shrink wrap can't go in curbside recycling, it must be brought to a designated Cape Cod transfer station. Here are some of the steps to follow before bringing the shrink wrap to a transfer station. Keep it clean to be recycled. Remove all non-shrink wrap items before drop-off, including strapping, vents, and zippered doors. A simple way is to cut the wrap around the belly of the boat so straps fall away. Then roll the plastic for easy transport. For full details, preparation tips, and updates, you can visit seagrant.hui.edu/shrink wrap. The boat shrink wrap recycling program is free for Cape residents at most locations, but commercial users are charged a fee at some locations. The town recycling stations accepting the boat shrink wrap include Bourne Solid Waste Management Facility on Route 28, 201 MacArthur Boulevard, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., on Saturday, 7 a.m. to noon. It's free for Cape residents. Commercial entities are charged $160 a ton. The Chatham Transfer Station at 97 Sam Ryder Road, Thursday through Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's free for Chatham and Harwich residents. Commercial charges $50 a ton. Eastham Transfer Station at 555 Old Orchard Road, Saturday through Wednesday, 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Free for Eastham residents. Non-method Eastham residents charged $10. Non-method? Non-Eastham residents, I'm assuming is what they mean, charge $10. The commercial charge is $165 per ton. Falmouth Waste Management Facility at 458 Thomas B. Landers Road in East Falmouth, Tuesday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. It's free for Cape residents. It does not accept shrink wrap from commercial entities. Wellfleet Transfer and Recycling Center is the last one at 370 Coles Neck Road, Friday through Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Free for residents and businesses in Wellfleet, Truro, and Provincetown only. For more information on the program, you can visit capecod.gov/2025. Recycle your boat wrap the easy way. There is one obituary in today's Cape Cod Times. It's of Evelyn Plotkin, who passed peacefully on April 10th, 3 weeks shy of her 102nd birthday. The youngest of 3 siblings, she lived in Worcester for 60 years before moving to Hyannis and later Heatherwood in Yarmouthport. She graduated from Classical High School in 1942. 1 year later, she married the love of her life, Sidney Plotkin, 3 days prior to his departure on a ship to India and China, where he was stationed for 2 years during World War II. Evelyn was predeceased by her beloved husband of nearly 74 years, Sidney, and leaves many family and friends behind. Funeral service will be at 12 p.m. Tuesday, April 14th, that's tomorrow, at the Cape Cod Synagogue, 145 Winter Street in Hyannis, with interment to follow at Mosswood Cemetery, 280 Putnam Avenue in Cotuit. Any contributions in Evelyn's memory can be made to the Cape Cod Synagogue. And with that, we've come to the end of our reading of the Cape Cod Times for today, Monday, April 13th. This is your reader, Eric, saying be well, be safe, look after each other. Bye for now.